All right, real quick before we get into it today, of course, shout out to our home team, Atlanta Braves, for winning the World Series. We're officially a better city than the city of Houston.
Right.
We're calling it with that win.
We're officially better than all of you today.
Play the simple, right?
For the next couple of months. Shout out to anyone who woke up in the city of the World Series champions. We're still drinking champagne for the Braves. Parade is today. We will be there today. So shout out to everyone that woke up in Atlanta today. That woke up in Cobb County, where the stadium is, Truist Park. Shout out to the Braves. They had 3. We're not going to talk baseball for real, but they had 2 or was it 3 shutouts in the World Series? 2 or 3. Pitching was on point, and
which was the problem over the past couple of years in the playoffs, having tight bats.
And we've been waiting on this forever. The Braves has always been successful. Like I can remember going to the World Series in 2000. I was 5 when we won the last time. We always won the division every year, but never could get over the top. Then, of course, last year they was up 3-1 and gave up the lead or whatever. So to be here and see the Braves win this championship was going to be amazing. So definitely shout out to the Atlanta Braves parade today.
With that being said, I'm John W.
It's Fresh X.
And it's the Hoopers Morning Run.
Before we go even further into that, also got to say, John W's birthday was yesterday. So we told him happy birthday yesterday. So happy birthday again. But it being his birthday yesterday also makes this 1 year that we've been doing these morning runs for the Off the Ball Network. So shout out to Off the Ball Network. Yesterday officially made a year of these runs. So went from international professional podcasters to the live show, the radio show.
But we still are the international professional podcasters. You got that magazine on you real quick?
Yeah, I actually got that because I wanted to
shout out to our dad for grabbing this for us, because we like stuff like this. The Slam's top 75 of all time. You want to pick this up, all you basketball heads, go pick this up. We're not promoting for Slam.
Not promoting for Slam at all, but as you can see by the background, it's gonna get used. I always kept got a lot of magazines, because magazines like Slam always took like these great pictures of such intimate shots. Like you got the shot of Kareem in there, one of Tim Duncan getting a dunk. So the photos and the stories was always next level. But that's for real hoop heads. So definitely shout out to Slam and all the photographers and the writers that got it done with that for sure.
But
their 75 is better than the 75 that was actually chosen also. But I'm not mad at the 75 that the NBA chose.
Sure. Well, they're not speaking of 75, but recently Chris Paul just passed Steve Nash third all time in assists. This seems like Chris Paul was always that. Nobody's gonna be number one. Let's get that out the way. John Stockton is never losing that.
He probably have to pay another 10 years to pass John Stockton. 7 realistically.
Yeah, but shout out to Chris Paul for moving top 3. Do you think he plays long enough to pass Mark Jackson?
Yeah. I think Chris Paul, when it's said and done, would be second all time in assists. I don't even know the numbers off the top of my head. I've looked at them a few times, but I don't know them off the top of my head right now. Haven't looked at them this morning. But Chris Paul has a couple more seasons in him. Like I can easily see him playing 3 to 5. Yeah, right. Not putting a time limit on his career, but definitely another 3 where he's effective. At least like if he's on the floor, he's gonna be 7-8 assists a game. So I definitely think he's gonna finish second all time.
No, for sure. So
first,
nah, nobody's catching John Stockton. He put it in such a spot where it's Jerry Rice's receiving record.
You had to pretty much average 12 assists your whole career while playing 20 seasons to catch him, and that's still really not enough. Like you're gonna have to have
gotta average like 13,
14, and you within that like averaging 12, you gotta have a 15-year, 14-year. So it's gonna be tough to catch John Stockton. And playing 20 seasons without getting hurt is
the key, right? Like you have to be out there for 82 games every year.
Yeah, because total stats at the end of the day is always gonna start coming down to longevity at some point. Like I mean, just look at even Mark Jackson at number 2. Shout out to Mark Jackson. Like if you look at his numbers, he has some pretty solid numbers. He's the only person in the top 5 of assists, not counting Chris Paul. That's not in the Hall of Fame. But he played such a long time and was able to stay consistent. His career averages 8 assists a game. He was pretty much that his whole year. his whole career. He had a year where he averaged 11, a year where he averaged 12, I think a 10. But overall, he was like at 8. But playing 15 plus seasons,
gotta do that for you.
Yeah, they get you up on the boards. That's why Jason Kidd is so high on the 3-point list.
Speaking of old people, now I'm just playing. But LeBron is gonna be out. I don't know how long he's gonna be out, but out with the Reckless dominant strain. For people that don't, for people like me who don't know what these words means, it's just his abs. He was out there dunking on Houston. He saw Jalen Green flying around out there. He said, "Hold on, I can do this too." Forgetting he's in year 19 and not 19. But that was a good game. And I'm just watching, as I was watching the playback of it the other night, and I like Houston's individual pieces on offense. I think they had a lot of talent on offense. I think Steven Silas shouldn't worry about coaching offense this year. Just put some structures and principles that get easy baskets and to keep the ball from sticking in one hand. The boys don't play no defense though, which is expected from a young team. Like you got 2 young guards. Christian Woods is still relatively young. KJ Martin, like they have a relatively young team. We be practicing defense all day. I might coach harder.
Right, yeah. If they play defense, they might be a little better. I mean, it's not gonna make them a playoff team, but they could probably be better. But Houston does have good pieces, and with Kevin Porter and Jalen Green in particular, and Christian Woods is the all-star type player.
19-11 so far this year.
I wonder if he's gonna fit their timeline. We'll see what they do within the next year or so. But I think they need a point guard because I don't like them playing Kevin Porter at point. He'll score. He doesn't need to be worried about setting other people up. If he can set someone else up, cool. But he should be trying to focus on him being a scorer. But Houston definitely got some very good pieces in them. And then you say King and Martin. Like he's one of those guys that grows with the team, a quality role player. Yeah.
He gonna play defense, get some dunks.
Stuff like that. So Houston definitely got some stuff going. So we'll see how long what they're thinking with their rebuild there. But LeBron definitely I can't remember in the longest, but he's had injuries like this so early in the season. You know, he missed those couple games for the sore ankle, and now you got this. So it's definitely the age factor. And when he's out there, he's looked good. But this is why I personally have harped on like this is a year for Anthony Davis to step up. Why are we still looking? Shout out to LeBron for being such a great player that he does command that. But it's been put on. If you go back to old clips of people talking about Anthony Davis, they've been saying many times that people expect him to be the best player in the league or one of top 5 player in the league, and this is the time for him to really do that. And especially while you still have LeBron being able to have nights where he can just go for 30 on you, and Russ, who he has nights where he can still get triple doubles. But we should know that Anthony Davis is their best player, and we know talent wise and age wise he's their best player, but he don't play like their best player. And I'm not even talking about his numbers right now. I'm sure he's having a solid season. I don't even care. But we really can't tell that Anthony Davis is the best player on that team. That's what they're going to need. Like, obviously, you're going to take precaution if LeBron feels any type of injury. Right. You're going to sit him. So I'm not even trying to go too off the deep end and think, he's getting hurt. It's going to be a long season. But he is getting hurt because he's doing too much already. When you got this 28-year-old, 29, however old Anthony Davis is, super versatile player, can guard anybody on the floor, can score from anywhere on the floor. He's pretty solid as a passer. I don't get why Anthony Davis isn't their best player.
I just want to know. I think it's a personality thing as well as I think like you were saying on the radio show or something, you don't necessarily want to step on Big Brother's feet. So it's like you get, but then you have those games like where LeBron is finna be out, and then you lose to who they lost to OKC once already. And that's a young OKC team who, with or without LeBron, everybody else should be good enough to beat them. But they lost in close games to them. And I know OKC isn't on the playoff timeline, but they should be in the playing game timeline. When you're OKC, you can get 2 wins off a team who's really thinking championship. Mm-hmm. Where does that kind of put you? How do you keep that mind frame going to where we can beat anybody on any given night?
Well, Shea played amazing. And Anthony Davis had a good game last night. Within all that, I can still say that he played well, but he's just not playing like the best player. That's just how I personally feel about it. The numbers are good. The numbers are great. Like, I'm not trying to take nothing away from his numbers. I don't want it to sound like that. No. But for OKC, like for one, I like the confidence I seen in Shea. Not that he doesn't play confidently, but he looked like he wanted that win. the three he hit at the end, the deep three, like he pulled up for, like he knew he was gonna make it the whole time.
You gotta make that shot,
right? Yeah, you gotta make it. You're gonna take it in that moment too. Like you miss that shot, it's kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Because it was unneeded, because they was already up.
It was up 3, right?
Yeah,
right.
And then but when you make it, it's like, oh yeah, he's ready. He's ready for this. But it's still really filling out the rest of the roster, because I know people like some of the role players on their team. I personally like Baisley. I know people like Dort, but these guys are role players. They're not going to manifest into an all-star. Maybe potentially, Baisley has some potential, but I think they're still missing another player that goes with Shea, and that's what gets them even into the playoff conversation. But as many of our Off the Ball Network family members have said, OKC isn't really trying to win, so I don't even know what their plan is, honestly. Maybe it's somebody they're scouting that they're hoping that they can hit on in the draft. Maybe they're thinking check, they're thinking of money, they're thinking of overseas prospect. But I don't know. I'm not the draft guy. I'm just saying.
But for the draft guys, check out Steve G and Chris LeBron, Draft Capital.
Yeah, Draft Capital. That's fire.
They can help. Yeah. They can hook y'all up with all that.
But I saw one of them say if they start winning too much, they would.
They go sit
Shea.
Yeah, like last year. Like it's gonna happen.
Right. So it is. At some point, too, though, you start thinking, are they wasting Shea's time? They're going to be wasting some of his years, because he's really getting into obviously, he's really young. But when you start going as a young player, you are ready to kind of go. And you don't want to wait till you're 27, 28 to, all right, now I got a team. Let's do it while I'm 25, because even though you may be still in your prime mentally, when you're 25, you still feel it athletically. You still feel like you could play through any type of injuries. And then you still have a different type of fearlessness that comes with youth and lack of certain experience in some playoff situations or whatever, which can help to your advantage. I mean, we look at the Hawks. The Hawks didn't know what it felt like to be down, so they just went out and hooped and got rid of Philly. So OKC is clearly still playing for the draft,
for sure.
But I just don't know how that's going to work for Shea, honestly. If you start thinking about what he's doing, and I know he wants to start hitting some all-star potential.
Right. And Shea's still
as good as your numbers look, who cares if y'all are not that they have a bad record now, but we come around the all-star break and y'all 10 games under 500. The coach is not putting you in that game. So
Shea deserves better. Shout out to Ed.
Yeah, I mean, because now as you're going, you do want to be an all-star. Obviously, that's not your main goal, but if you know it's there, you want that. You want to be recognized as one of the best players. You're not making an all-star team 10 games under 500,
right.
And then that affects the money that you can make. Now you are thinking about going somewhere else because now you want more money or whatever because you're not hitting these milestones. So playing for the draft is cool for so long, but it's like, what's the goal? They're not even getting top 5. The OKC draft top 5 this year? No.
But like, Josh Giddey is looking good so far.
He does look good, but I don't think Josh Giddey is a star. I think he's a solid player. That's just me personally, but we'll see what becomes of that. But the way that they're playing, they're doing the Philly tank thing, except they got this player that's so great that nobody's really paying attention. But Philly was trying to hit for Embiid, and they were trying to hit for a star, and they were also getting top 3 picks. You can find steals, like we talked about that on the radio show. You can find them 10 to 14 late lottery steals, but the stars is coming in the top 5, and they're not even drafting in the top 5, right. So they wasting their time playing.
And then I guess what I was going to feed off you said, you were saying what's their plan, and of course when you have a player like Shea who's showing that potential, all-star potential, do you kind of get too precautious as far as drafting go? Because like we have a player who we think is the guy, so let's just fill out good players and not necessarily let's go for that next, what could be a next level top tier player.
I think it.
You think that kind of just play a factor into the thing because you have Shea who's basically right now 20 and
I don't think it should, because obviously if I got a player like Shea at point guard, I'm thinking point guard is locked up. So the only time that comes into a factor is if you got Shea at point guard, then Kyrie's in the draft and you got the number 1 pick. Now it's like, well, damn, what do I
right,
do? But other than that, I'm just thinking I'm drafting the best available player that's not a point guard.
That's fair.
So, but you still got to get in the top 5 to do that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Trying to play for the lottery, and even those players that got hit late on in the lottery, they were able to develop. I mean, Kawhi didn't just become an all-star or even Giannis. So you waited out a couple of years, and Shea's young now, but in 4 years, we're talking about him being 27. I don't know his age, but just throwing a number out there. But he got to be about 22, 23, right? Yeah. So in 4 years, he's 27, 28. Now you're talking about, he's about to be 30. So now we need a younger player. They need to put somebody with Shea in the next year, really. And
And like I said, I think they've done a good job of drafting those support players.
And they do already have those support players.
I think Giddy and Halliburton are two players who are going to be really good players for their teams, but they're not the next level. Get you to that next level type of player. But they gonna be good feeling. They're good players.
They contributing players that can contribute to championship teams. But are they gonna become all-stars? I don't know about that. And I mean, that's what wins championships at the end of the day, is having a bona fide superstar or at least two all-stars. Yeah. So you are still looking for that. And if you're trying to play the age game every year, you're wasted of his age. I mean, Shai's only going to get older. He's not going to get younger. But already having those good role players helps the team, obviously, because all right, I got a solid defender plus a guy that can knock down some shots here or there in Dortz. I know Giddy, like, he's talented all over the court. He can handle the ball. He can shoot it. He can get to the basket. He can do a lot. So, you already have that. You know that Baisley, he can shoot the ball. He's good inside. He's a good offensive player, left-handed. But that usually works when you're trying to attract a big free agent and nobody's signing at OKC. So that's why I keep mentioning that they're clearly playing the draft game. Because whether you're hitting on a high pick to trade for someone or you're hitting on a high pick to bring him in and that person becomes a star, because as we've seen out the last few years, players are developing quickly. Ant came out averaging 20. LaMelo is averaging 19, 7 and 7 right now. Things like that. So either you add one of them or you're thinking I'm going to trade one of them to put with this player. You're still on the clock after every year.
So. No, sure. Speaking of a young player who looks to be taking that all-star step, Ja Morant. He has Memphis in good position right now. I know coming into the year.
Place home court right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had him as, a potential first-time all-star this year, especially among the young point guards. But I've seen a conversation come up, between a few people, and I know actually on the radio show, could he take like that Westbrook, Derrick Rose third-year leap? Derrick Rose, the MVP, his third year. And, of course, I'm not saying Ja Morant is going to be – this is year 3. I'm not saying he's going to be the MVP or even, who knows what happens later on in the year. Right. But do you think Ja Morant can keep up this pace to where he can be in realistic MVP conversation? Not necessarily win it, just be in that top 3 conversation.
Right, because being in the conversation alone as a third-year player shows that now it's beyond just your statistics, because to be in the MVP conversation, it means your team is genuinely better, which he came out as a rookie. They would have made, I'm going to say it every time, they would have made the playoffs if it wasn't for the bubble. They went in the bubble, wasn't able to handle business. You come back last year, make the play-in again. I don't think a lot of people had them beating the Warriors, especially after the Warriors-Lakers game. I don't think many had them beating the Warriors to make the playoffs. And even though you go in and you lose, so Utah just beating the Warriors and securing that playoff and showing that they can win those games was key. So now you're coming in this year, and the next step is, I personally thought the next step was just not being in bubble conversation, getting a 6 seed. But now they're looking like they're trying to play for home court. Long season was still, they're only like 8 games in. Long season still to go. But to be in that position and show that they're trying to take that next step, I think definitely can have them in that conversation. And Memphis has, I think they're still missing one other player as a star player, or even just a guard that can score a lot of points for them.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
Right, because Jaren Jackson can be an all-star, even if he's not necessarily your second best player, but they definitely need another scorer on their team. But having Ja alone puts him in so many different conversations, because he's a player that's not scared to win the game at the end. He's Allen Iverson 2.0, and he takes on those challenges, and he puts them in position to win, and winning will help him. He's definitely going to be an all-star this year. I thought he would have been an all-star last year, but he got hurt after about this amount of games last year. He got hurt and he missed almost like 2 months. He's definitely going to be an all-star this year. He's going to try to play for some all-NBA conversations. And if Memphis can stay in the top 4, I think he'd be – I think, honestly, if they stay in the top 6, because Memphis has a solid roster. Yeah. And I know people are high on Jaren Jackson. I just said that he could, depending on numbers and how good the team is, he could get all-star conversations. But I've never been as high on Jaren Jackson as other people's. Like, I never thought he was a cornerstone player. I think he helps what they do. So John's really the only bona fide all-star on their team. Everybody else is really good. And Jaren Jackson is really good also. He's a step above everybody else, but he's way below Ja to me. Like, they're not on the same level at all. And So I think that if Memphis is in top 5, even let's say they get 5th, I think Josh should still be in MVP conversation. I mean, just like how Steph finished 3rd and they got eliminated in the wild card game.
Right.
I think Josh could be in that same thing.
No, for sure. Speaking of Steph and Golden State, I've seen a couple quotes from Draymond Green over the past week.
They've been way better so far this year than I thought they would be. I gotta say that.
Memphis or Golden State?
Golden State.
Yeah. I don't got one loss right now at this point. But I've seen some interesting quotes come from Draymond Green over the past week. One was he can really shoot the ball right now. And the other one was just kind of feel like that 2015 team where nobody expected them to win it and they come out and win it all. I'm not asking if they can win it because we still got a lot of seasons left.
Win it.
They can't. That's fair. But are you kind of getting that sense though? Like nobody, like they did start off good that year. Nobody actually saw them sustaining that success and going to the championship. But do you think this kind of does give that feel off to where it's kind of that sneaky goodness, like we're still quiet?
Right. Yeah. Like I could definitely see why they say this feels like that team as far as because Steph was the bona fide best player. Clay hadn't made an all-star game yet. He didn't even make it that year. But nobody thought that they were going to hold up that whole year, and they did, which I think is potentially there this year because they're still missing Wiseman. You're going to get Clay back. But I just think, you said it multiple times, they just got a smarter team this year. So I can see that. I don't think they could compete for the championship, and I don't get the Draymond saying he can shoot this year because he's still not shooting the ball. He's averaging 8 points per game just like he did last year. So he's not shooting the ball. The difference this year is the whole team overall. Like last year, they played with a lot of G Leaguers. They did Steph kind of dirty last year. And this year, even with their top pick still being out, they brought in a lot of solid players. Valencia, Otto Porter,
Gary Payne dunking on his.
Right. Jordan Poole has like I said, he saw his life his NBA life flash before his eyes when he went to the G League, and he's come back a different player, and that helps. So I just think this team is better. Last year I felt like they were kind of expecting Wiggins to be a bigger scorer than he shown that he could be, while this year and later on in the season he kind of just fell into the role where I'm gonna just be efficient, and he stepped up his defense, which I gotta give him credit for that because I didn't know if he could do it. So I think everybody's more settled into their role. But even still on that team, as much as I think because of their success, a lot of players got really overrated on those teams. I think Clay still was such a defining factor for that team. He could have been an all-star that year. And I don't think Jordan Poole is as good as Clay was. So that's why I don't think they're a championship contender. But I do think they can still get home court this year. I think they can get home court.
And speaking of the G League, shout out to James Wiseman, who recently said, he would welcome going down to the G League just to improve himself as a player, which you don't really hear from players in general, and then you really don't hear that from the top players, like the top drafted players.
My only question with that is, so since he's saying he'd go to the G League, so he's not playing because he's not ready to play right now, or is he not playing because he's hurt?
I think he's hurt.
Because I'm going to say if he's healthy,
I think that goes, his health, I think getting healthy goes into it as well.
But I can see also, since if he's not, because the teams don't practice as much during the season, so going to the G League can help him get some practice and get some reps and just get in some shape. So that's kind of what I took out of that, that he just wants some time on the court. Because, I mean, we saw how I personally thought James Wiseman looked really good last year for a guy that was in and out with injuries. Hadn't played.
He had some good games last year.
Right, hadn't played because remember he only played 3 games in college, so you hadn't played since high school for real. No training camp, and then he still was able to just step in and play. Like I think he instantly would make them better this year, just his presence. So I think that's what's up that he want to go. But when he gets healthy, he need to be ready to just go to the NBA because he's starting game 1. He just be ready to play. But I do appreciate him saying that because that kind of showed that he got an itch. Just send me here, man. I can just practice. It seems like he got an itch to play. So I appreciate that.
Definitely. Speaking of, I'm going to talk about the Boston Celtics real quick, who are in a bit of a turmoil right now, having team meetings and whatnot.
I like that. Hold on, my bad, because I like that. I'll shout out about their work. They posted a question: who should the Celtics trade, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? And a good amount of people replied, Marcus Smart. Y'all was smart. Shout out to those people. Shout out to y'all. Y'all was smart.
Twitter page, but do you want to have player-only meetings this early in the season?
You never.
What are we discussing?
You never want to have a players-only meeting, but it was necessary because Marcus Smart's comments to the media was out of pocket for him to how he just decided he was gonna say Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum ain't passing the ball, and that's why we're not winning. Pretty much, I just sliced his words up like everybody else do, but that's not exactly what he said. But to say that they aren't passing the ball, but what was more outside of him unnecessarily giving these comments, what I didn't like the most out of what he said was not even that they aren't passing the ball, but he said that they don't want to pass the ball. And I don't think that was fair to say because y'all haven't been making shots. And of course, right after that, NBA Twitter cut up these different sequences of them kicking him the ball and him missing shots. You're averaging 8 points right now. And I've been reading all the stories about how they need to get better as distributors. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that is. They need to get better as distributors because you trade Kemba Walker. But we're not talking about the guy that replaced Kemba Walker in the starting lineup becoming a better distributor. Boston could be better, period. And it looks bad when Jason Tatum's struggling from the field. Jaylen Brown's been solid overall. He's had some bad games, but he averaging 27, shooting 40-something% from the field. Right now. So, he's doing what he does. But a part of the reason why the team isn't better is because you went from a point guard that even while hurt can give you 19 points per game to a point guard that can't average 10 points. Marcus Smart is averaging 8 points per game. He's shooting 29% from the field. He's shooting 27% from three. You're not the guy that need to be saying. You're not that guy. You're not the guy that need, and he's averaging 4 assists per game. Your backup point guard is leading y'all in assists. You shouldn't be calling players out like that. And knowing what you're doing also. A couple weeks ago, Marcus Smart played 30 minutes of the game. He scored no points. The whole team could get better, and that's why his comments were off. So I get having a meeting to be like, let's address that because that's not what we're going to do. We don't need to go down that way. Now, basketball side-wise, they just need some changes, period. I've said plenty of times, like, they're getting nothing scoring-wise from their other guards. 90 Peyton Pritchard left all his points in Portland when he dropped 90. He hasn't scored over 6 points this year, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but every time I see the box score, he's got 3, 5. You need more scoring from him. I've been on record plenty of times I'm a fan of Romeo Langford. He's got his minutes this year. He's not scoring the ball either. They're not getting much out of Marcus Smart. You're not getting a ton. I mean, you're getting 6 assists out of Schroeder, so shout out to him. But then he missed some time because he was hurt. Grant Williams had a good game, and then he goes away for some games. I mean, all you have is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum right now. And that's not to say that they can't be better because their assists have dropped a little bit this year. But partly it's been dropped because they're kicking y'all the ball and y'all not making shots either. But everybody in Boston needs to be better, including the GM. President of Basketball Operations, who got this job with no experience for no reason, just gave it to him because they didn't want much change, I guess. That's what, as you said last time.
Yeah. But it's just what, like I say, it's so early in the season. Like, right, a lot of these things y'all can handle without
throwing shots in the media.
You're right. And like I said, I think this is also Marcus Smart, as I always say as well. This is a guy who went from being a heart and soul and glue guy to we need you to realistically be the third best player on the team guy. And I know at one point coming out of college, Marcus Smart was projected to be the number 1 pick, first point guard drafted. Yep. I don't think his skill level is what it's not going to help Boston. Like what he does best isn't helping Boston right now because they asking him to do something else.
And I just got one last question to end it with. How is what he doing right now so different from what I hate to be the Kyrie defender again? But remember when Kyrie came there and he was talking about the young guys and basically them needing to follow his lead? That's not exactly what he said, but that's kind of how people took his comments. But how is what Marcus Smart is saying even different from that? Saying they're young, they'll learn. Like we've been in the league around the same amount of time, honestly. They're young compared to him too. I don't really see the difference in those comments.
So he came out as a sophomore. They came out as freshmen.
They would have came out of high school if possible because they're way better than him.
Well, it's just I think this Boston Celtics team is just. I think honestly they've reached the end of their ceiling. Like they touched it already. A couple Eastern Conference Finals run. They say they didn't necessarily fill the team out as best as possible. Needing a big man for years, never really going to get one because they were satisfied with Al Horford. And I need a point guard, and they really didn't have. The one time you need assets to make trades for players and roster adjustments, you don't have it.
Right.
Danny Ainge just kind of threw that all away by not getting rid of, not trading them, or just not making. he drafted a lot of Wade players in his team. I just we can end it right there. Honestly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, he drafted a lot of Wade players.
Over the summer, I said that I thought that Boston should have traded Marcus Smart, but I don't really know what you're getting for him now. That really changes the team. But what I'm not doing is I'm not trading Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's where we need to get away from the thought of if something's wrong, let's trade these two all-star players. They clearly have skill sets. Build the team around those skill sets to fit both of them because they've proven that they can get their points playing together. They were having a successful season last year despite Kemba being hurt before Jason Tatum got COVID and then before Marcus Smart got hurt. So there has been success within that. And you're just not going to find those two type of players. And as I said, I ended with this, as I said on the radio show, you can see examples of it working. Literally look at Chicago where they have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar, people thought he couldn't score no more because he went to San Antonio and got his assists up. It was averaging 22, 23 points a game, but he's averaging 27 right now. Zach's averaging 25. Chicago's 6-2 because they have pieces that work. They have a center who they can also still play through, and his scoring is down, but they can go to Vooch when they need to. They can have a point guard that's out there, and Lonzo's not averaging 12 assists, but he's out there to distribute the ball and knock down his threes. He's averaging 12 and 6 compared to a point guard averaging 8 and 4. That's how you build a team around these wing scorers that are going to score, and they're willing defenders too. So the plan is, and I get some people think you trade them because that's how you get the assets back. Yeah. So I want to be fair and put that out there. People don't just want to break them up. It's like, how do you get
some people do just want to
some people do want to break them up, but you do got those people out there that be like, well, how do you get anybody else back if the value of these other players are so low? So I want to respect that perspective, but I'm not breaking up two players that have proven they can average 25 plus together. They're not the problem. Right. It's on, I know Jason Tatum shooting terrible this year, but they've pretty much been able to score without getting each other's way while having solid percentages.
Right.
They missed Kemba Walker more than they thought they would.
Sure.
Shout out to Kemba.
Quick question. I think we can interrupt this shit in the show right here. Has Philly been a surprise to you so far? They're 7-2. Played all year without Ben Simmons. Tyrese Maxey stepped up. I think Matisse Thybulle is going to be an all-time great defender by the time he's done. He's averaging about basically a block and a half, 2.5 steals. I think his shot is looking a little better this year. He's been more aggressive as far as getting to the rim and just getting easy dunks and layups. Tobias is Tobias. He's going to do whatever it is that he provides regardless. How long do you think they can sustain this success without Ben Simmons on the court?
I'm not surprised because I always thought that they could be successful whether just Ben was the go-to player or whether it was Joel and you just built the team around them. The difference is when one of them gets hurt in the middle of the season and everything you've practiced have been focused towards, playing within both of them. But with not having been pretty much basically in training camp, they kind of already had a system of how they wanted to play. You're still bringing back a top 10 player in the NBA that finished second in MVP voting. Tobias is a borderline all-star. Tyrese Maxey is better than people. Like, they have a solid team overall. Seth Curry has been around 20 points per game. You know what you're going to get out of him. You know you're going to get.
Right, Danny Green isn't even out there right now.
Right, and when he is, what he's going to bring defensively, and then he'll occasionally make some threes for you. So I'm not surprised that, a lot of people thought Philly was just going to fall off. And that's why my whole problem has been deciding, is Tyrese Maxey really going to be the starting point guard, or do you need to trade Ben for a point guard? But it seems like they're comfortable with Tyrese Maxey at point. So honestly, that really opens up to trade Ben for other type of positions because you know that you can sustain with him being the starting point guard. I personally just didn't know, should Tyrese be the starting point guard? And because I definitely know I'm not bringing in a 2 because I don't want to, because, a lot of talk with CJ McCollum. I like Seth Curry at the 2. Like, Seth Curry could have an all-star year, honestly, because it's just a matter of having a good, putting together those numbers and y'all winning. He's around 20 a game, shooting 40, whatever from 3. We winning. People going to talk about him as being an all-star type player. And Seth is going to be consistent with that. He was having a great year before COVID hit him also, and then he bounced back. So I'm not surprised because you bring that back, and top 10 players, they win games at the end of the day. And I know we probably all got lost in the drama, but Joel is still Joel Embiid, and he hasn't even been going crazy, honestly.
No, right.
Like he's just playing good basketball, but he's still a factor because some people may look at his offensive numbers being down and forget that he's finished top 3 in defensive player of the year voting in the past. He's been an all defensive center, so he's still bringing it defensively also. So it's not, and Doc wins games during the regular season. I mean, so it's still, you're missing Ben, but it's still a playoff team within that, and a guy that on some nights, Joel Embiid look like he's the best player in the NBA. It's Kevin Durant, but some nights, what can you do when you got a 7'2" guy that'll beat you in the post like Shaq, but then also can shoot some threes on you? So I'm not surprised that Philly's winning. I still expected them to get home court this year. It's just a matter of now that you've gotten into the regular season, because I just think now at this point, we really passed the point of where they should have just traded Ben. I've been on record of saying over and over, I get why you don't just give him away. But at this point, it's like, why even bring him back to the team with whatever he's going through? I'm not going to disrespect what he said about why he's not there, but why keep going through it when it's just going to hurt the team and you still have potential to make a run? When you got Joel Embiid on your team and he's healthy, Philly still can win a championship, and that's what should matter.
No,
instead of, you need everybody on board. Period. To why I respect the Nets owner for just for them making a decision not to have Kyrie, because it's like, what happens if we get a home playoff series? So you need everybody to be on board as far as the direction that we're going in when we're trying to win a championship. And I'm like I said, I understand Kyrie's perspective also, but I get why the Nets are like, we respect what you're saying, but we try to win the championship. So that matters also. So I'm not surprised by Philly. But I don't think they're coming out the East yet, because you got to figure that Ben situation out. And I just think you just got to move them.
No, I definitely agree. Like I said, Joel Embiid is such an impactful player on both sides of the court. You can sustain some success if that's what you already know you're working with. But other than that, you got anything else? Oh, real quick, Robin Lopez says that OKC has never had a good jersey ever in their entire career. But they've had great players. Never had a great jersey.
I'm not mad at him, because you got the orange one. I did kind of like the blue that they had back in the day. I think where they had the number, it was like a navy blue.
Yeah, with the thunder and the number.
Yeah, which they kind of try to do with the white one this year. Shout out to Jelani. I saw his jersey.
Yeah, shout out to Jelani.
He said the jerseys are too white. He said, what happens if Shane died for a while and get nachos on the jersey? I'm like, that's a good thought. So, but yeah, they haven't had terrible jerseys though. So
they haven't had great jerseys.
Yeah, nothing great though.
No. But like I said, other than that, you got anything else?
Other than that, Atlanta Braves championship parade today, 12 p.m. starts at noon. We will be there. That's all I got. Nah, but for real though, appreciate all the viewers as always. Catch us every Monday and Friday on the Nothing But Net channel through the Dash Radio app. 3 p.m. It's Friday. Catch us at 3 p.m. Download the Dash Radio app. Get the Nothing But Net channel and like that. And we're on there every Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Every Wednesday, we just did the Carmelo Hoopers Room. Don't know who we're doing next week, but Hoopers Room every Wednesday on the Halftime app. Download the Halftime app also. Come join us every Wednesday, 6 p.m. for the Hoopers Room. You can find us anywhere podcasts are available. Just search the Hoopers Pod. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the page. Just search the Hoopers Pod. We the Hoopers Pod. Just Google the Hoopers Pod, and everything you see, subscribe, like, comment, retweet, Instagram, post, whatever, all that cool stuff. And of course, every Friday, Hoopers Morning Run, right here on the Off the Ball Network's Facebook page, the Hoopers Twitter page, and Hooper's YouTube page.
For sure. And once again, appreciate all the birthday wishes for whoever wished me a happy birthday and whatnot. I appreciate it again. Like my brothers out. It's funny because we always up early, so nobody's gonna beat us telling the other one happy birthday. Like you gotta tell us at midnight if you want to beat one of us saying happy birthday, honestly. But once again, appreciate that. Appreciate the viewers. I'm John W.
Fresh shit.
And this was the Hoopers Morning Run. Shout out to Atlanta Braves one more time. Shout out to Mo, because that was for Mo.
It was for Mo.